Okay. We're in the last week finally.
Yes, and hello everyone.
Okay. Yeah. It's like I don't know, I'm feeling it kind of feels like I'm living that one scene from SpongeBob. Do you remember? Okay, here's how it goes. Plankton tries to steal the Krabby Patty formula again, like he always does, but he does it by sneaking into a dollar.
Mm-hmm.
Dollar. Or he pops out of it and he says, "Aha, Krabs!" Krabs, I'm going to finally steal the formula. I fu- and Krabs just says back to him, "Okay, now what?" And Plankton just stops and says, "I don't know. I never thought I'd get this far."
Jeez. Well, we're definitely going to, no matter what happens on Saturday, we're definitely going to know that we've got an audience.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they'd be willing to follow us wherever we went, so we could probably take this back over to Indiegogo, and they'd still back us, more than likely.
I don't know about that. I'd have to say, keep open to campaigns, see if they'll actually follow us.
Hmm.
But I think that Indiegogo is in a really bad place right now.
Yeah, you might be right about that a little bit. Although Jeremy got funded for Movie Men.
Yeah, but Jeremy had 2,000 on his goal. If
That's
we
true.
Yeah, if we had gone with 2,000, we would have been funded in a week.
Maybe 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 we should just set the four. Because
Well,
really, at this, because Dan just said he got Adobe Kroger funded.
yeah, probably a good idea. I've cut down the length of Mythics by 2 pages
Sadly,
because,
I can't do.
yeah,
Sadly, I can't do the same for Changeling.
it's nice to not have a very big cast where I need to I need to have longer books. But
Hey, mine's not much bigger than well. Okay, actually, I can still count. I can count the number of characters in the first issue on one hand, and even you've still got a smaller one.
yeah,
Well, the only two real characters in the first Mythics issue are Althea and Gallatin.
yeah, and I'm going to and there's gotta be a special character appearance at the end of a book.
Oh yeah,
So
we'll
yeah,
tell you
so
that.
yep. So
What are
I
you gonna?
sent. Oh yeah. Well, I sent Beth the money to do the illustrations, and then after that, we're going to work on the character designs for certain characters.
Yeah. Last night, last night, while Vamp was taking a smoke break, smoke break, right from her stream,
Mm-hmm.
I showed her the figures, and I kid you, and I told her this is this is called being so close you can fucking taste it.
Yep.
You can, you can imagine her response was something to the effect of "fucking yes."
Well, I have to say that the real stress hasn't come yet.
I know it's just more like Success or fail, I think honestly at this I'm gonna be glad just to have it over.
Yeah. Hopefully we don't get so big that we get in over our heads when it comes to writing finales.
Oh, I was referring more to the campaign, but yeah,
Yeah.
you're probably right about that. I don't know.
Basically, yeah, yeah. Basically, right now it's after we hit end the campaign, we have to continue onward to keep the buzz from dying down
I know.
and figure out ways to expand our audience.
Mm-hmm. Makes me wonder though, are we ever gonna get to a point where we can just quit our jobs and just do this shit full time?
Eventually, because Wicked has been talking about expanding their own, and
Well, that's the point of any business is to grow.
yep. So, and when a company grows, it creates opportunities for us. I think the Mythoverse is a universe that's so embedded with Wicked that we're going to have a hard if we ever do decide to leave Wicked. There's no way we'd be able to keep it intact.
Probably not. Probably not. No. Man, like, I mean, goddamn, is this still like started this? We kind of started all this like almost a year ago. This doesn't feel hard to believe this is actually happening for me. Like this, like I know I've probably said this like 1,000 times already, but it just sometimes I really honestly never saw myself here.
You know, funny thing is that it's been less than a year.
I guess in the grand scheme of things, like what's scheme of things, like I started changeling, like started pushing changeling like almost a year ago.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, I know you and Dan had Mythics and Adobe Kroger in your heads for a lot longer than I did.
Yeah, but back I it's been a year since I came back to Twitter. And during that year, and during that time, I was pushing out ideas for comics, which is why Mechanic Chronicles became a focus at the very beginning, because partly because Brian had said it looks cool, and partly because Beth wasn't available for page commissions. So Mythics is out of the question. Though I was able to get her back for colors on Mechanic Chronicles.
Mm-hmm. Well,
But go on.
but then again, things ended up changing again, and now look where we are.
Yep. I feel bad for disappointing people about who were hyped for Mechanic Chronicles. Well, it's gotta come out eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in love with that Neon Mave that Ginger made.
Of course.
Do you want to know something I ended up finding out from her?
Huh.
I thought it would be like 2 to 3 frames of animation. Turned out it was 11.
Wow.
I took, yeah, she made all the frames by hand, and then I just edited them together in Sony Vegas. The tricky part was figuring out the right length.
Yeah.
It's like you cannot make this too short, can't make this too long.
Oh yeah. Well, I think that's a second homage to Nyan Cat that I've seen. The first one was when I was back during the big craze where I was Nyan Cat, where First TV Animated Adventures did their own version of it,
Yeah.
which is basically the main guys as cats: Bernie, Gus, Joel. But instead of a Pop-Tart with Bernie, it was drunk Bernie, and he had popcorn because during that time it was he had a funny story about how he got so drunk that he went to people at convention telling them giving them a bag of popcorn and telling them to go to get out because they're too drunk. Second, with Gus, it was Gus with pizza attached to his head because he loves pizza.
Of course it was.
Joel, it was Gold because he's the gold guy.
I always, for being as much of a libertarian as Joel is, I always figured he'd go for Bitcoins.
He says there's no future in Bitcoin. Joel Heyman is a very complex guy.
Wow.
Oh, and Gavin Free wasn't great because that was his big catchphrase at the time was people like grapes. It was a very successful shirt.
I'm kind of a little salty that I cannot make merchandise out of Nyan because I found out that it actually has a copyright on it. Nyan Cat has a copyright on it, and I'm not sure this counts as being transformative enough.
No, it's not. Which is why when they did the Nyan Cat RTA, they had to say they put up there that it was a tribute to the original. Believe me, if there's anything that Rich Steve knows how to do, it's merchandise, and that would have been on their shirts, and they weren't.
I always figured memes would ended up being. I always figured that memes were public domain, but no, Nyan Cat has a copyright. Grumpy Cat had a copyright.
Well, yeah, Grumpy Cat had merchandise, a TV movie,
and a comic book.
Yeah.
Fucking Grumpy Cat got a comic book.
Hey, after the Geico Caveman got a TV show, anything's possible.
It's like, I'm just wondering, how do you make a comic book out of Grumpy Cat? It's just a what is it?
It's called Garfield.
Garfield's not grumpy. He's just so what? It's Garfield, but you swap out being lazy with grumpy.
Yep.
That's not. It's like once you figure out this is just grumpy Garfield, it feels like the novelty would wear off instantly.
Which is what happens to just about anything that was once a meme turned into a franchise, except for Wanpool. Wanpool, I think the big thing with the reason why Wanpool was able to break that was because the creator was able to make the comic rather than have someone else do it.
Well, not just that, it's also like, well, not just that. Troy also gave Juan an actual personality.
Yep. Oh, hey. Keanu Reeves in Toy Story 4.
Yeah, I saw that. It's like, wow.
I'm surprised he's not playing Badass Woody.
Maybe he is.
No, he's playing a Canadian stuntman toy.
Oh.
Now, if he was playing Badass Woody, that'd be a whole different territory for the franchise.
He could just be oh come on, he could just be playing some kind of action figure.
He is. It's a Canadian stuntman action figure.
Then again, the whole edgy, and like there, in like like back in the '90s, all those action figures. Like, I mean, fuck, you could basically be a GI Joe knockoff. It would work.
Yeah. Well, it seems like stuntmen became very popular in the 80s and 90s, and it just wore off.
No, I think it was the '70s because remember, Evil Knievel was huge back then.
Oh yeah. Although it seems like it never really died. I think it was more along the lines in Canada where it was the 80s and 90s because they had that popular parody, Super Dave.
Here's another thing: they're bringing back New Coke, but only just because it's going to be on Stranger Things.
Of course, because if it's on TV or Netflix, that people are going to buy it. Actually, the one impressive thing that I've seen come from YouTube was when LA Beast brought back Crystal Pepsi.
I thought that was Brad Jones.
It might have been a combination of both, but LA Beast took it to a whole new level when he bought a bottle of Crystal Crystal Pepsi off of eBay and drank it, and also shared a recipe he came up with to make Crystal Pepsi.
Okay, I gotta go that much.
I think with Brad Jones, it was more of an ironic thing.
It was like that other series he had on that guy with the glasses, Brad tries, where people would send him
yeah.
food and drinks, and he would try them and just say what he thought.
Yeah. Crystal Pepsi was just basically Pepsi Sprite, except with caffeine.
So then, why did people go nuts over Crystal Pepsi then?
They did in the 90s. That's why they got rid of it. It's the whole nostalgia factor, I think.
I once told a guy that it kind of feels like the current phase that pop culture is in is something I'm calling nostalgia exploitation.
Yeah, Surge is back.
Like it's like exploitation, but it's all built around nostalgia. It's like saying like, you remember that thing from from way back when? Well, it's back now.
Yep.
You feel does it make you feel like you're a kid again? An old 20 30 something? Because I mean, for God's sake, we have no. Have you seen what our original ideas are like? These are awful.
Yeah, something I'm going to say the only kind of nostalgia thing that'll actually make me move would be bring back good storytelling of the 80s and 90s.
Like the 90s. I thought people hated 90s comics.
They weren't bad. They're only saying that because they want to be contrarians.
Well, let's not kid ourselves. There were some real clunkers in the 90s too.
Rob Liefeld.
Yes. And actually, a lot of the Image guys. Not so much that they were bad, just so much as like. Well, let me put it this way. Todd McFarlane and Eric Larson, they were better writers than Rob Liefeld, but that wasn't saying much. Huh. It was just kind of just showing that because they were artists, they didn't really They really did not know how to write.
Yeah. And even though Rob Liefeld was had I was able to, people brought
Improve.
proof that he could do, you could do the Captain America Rob Liefeld in real life.
Yeah.
Does not vindicate him at all. That was a horrible design.
No, it does not. Although, let's also give credit where it's due. Rob Liefeld actually did improve.
Yeah. But then again, you can only go up from down.
So,
The real question is, can he draw feet now?
honestly, I think his biggest deficiencies were more in drawing backgrounds.
Yeah.
And he was just lucky to be able to work up with colorists who could make up for that.
I don't think it's so much as luck as it is that he knew what colors would help bring out the best. It's just
Like I said, he's improved.
yeah.
I haven't heard good things about Major X.
Oh wow.
Like, people like it. But then again, most Marvel books have set the bar so low. All you got to do is literally just hop across it to do better.
Yeah, it's funny because people are now praising Nick Spencer despite the fact that he is responsible for Hail Hydra Captain America.
Well, let's.
The bar is so low that people forgot about that.
Well, that's the thing with the internet.
It's one outrage after the other.
I was gonna say, time happens like in the blink of an eye.
Yep.
So let me put it this way: in internet time, Hydra Captain is for all intents and purposes ancient history now.
Pretty much. So although Avengers Endgame might be the last good MCU movie, possibly Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 will be the last good one. But as it turns out, MGM wants to do their own superhero movie with J. Michael Straczynski's Rising Stars.
Really?
And he wrote the script.
Oh, cool.
Yep, so, hey, according to him, it's going to be a trilogy. So, we might see a good movie come out.
Yeah, I think I saw. Here's something I saw Razorfist tweet about the other day. He said that Disney's gonna wait till Disney figures out that they can use the MCU method on Star Wars, where they just crank out 2 to 3 generic but profitable movies a year, and then that's when the real horse sets in. It dies. It doesn't die overnight because of one bad movie. It dies a slow, rotting death because of passable tripe.
They tried that with their a Star Wars movie a year. The big thing of Star Wars is that when the movies came out, it was an event. It didn't happen. It didn't have movie after movie after movie.
It's like that Red Letter Media clip. Star Wars isn't special anymore.
Yeah, it's a lesson that producers have not learned. It's happened to Star Trek where everyone had Star Trek fatigue. They didn't want to, Enterprise was bad, but that wasn't a big reason why it died. It died because they were cranking out TV series after TV series after TV series. Movie after movie after movie. So when it all came crashing down with the Paramount CBS split, it was basically not. People were too tired to care.
I think that's the most sobering when I thought of it all. That they took something that was really good and they just milked it till everyone stopped caring.
Yep, which is why Warner Brothers has tried to milk Babylon 5 as their sci-fi franchise. And thankfully, because of how well ran the show was during when JMS was running things, they don't want to go to anyone else but him for it. So it hasn't become the new Star Wars or Star Trek, where it dies a painful death.
Not a painful death, a slow death.
Yeah, well, slow and painful because when you watch something that you love just become worse and worse with each passing series, that's pretty painful.
I think it's more painful. I think the real pain is when it finally dawns on you. It's like, okay, it's like because I mean, like people sat through 7 seasons of Voyager.
Yeah, and
I think
people said,
it was only when Enterprise did the realization finally dawn on everybody.
that they're all out of ideas.
Yeah.
I think the biggest challenge would be to have the Big Bang Theory last 100 seasons.
Fuck no, that show's over now. I hate Big Bang Theory. I can't think of a property that has probably done more damage to nerd culture than Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, at least Heroes of Cosplay died.
Because this is what people think it's like.
If they want to see a more balanced look at what nerd culture is like, read Genshin, a manga about nerds. They're not, or at least, or I should probably rephrase it, a manga series about geeks, because none of those characters goes on to become physicists or anything like that. They become creators. They become the average Joe.
Become normal people. Yeah, it's like,
well, as normal as they can be in Japanese culture.
yeah, it's just like, fuck. Yeah, most nerds, they are not that smart.
That's because it's usually the geeks. If you're going to, I've heard this debate before. Nerds are the ones who are smart. Geeks are the ones who are more into the pop culture aspects of shows and video games and comics.
Also, nobody talks like they do on The Big Bang Theory.
Oh God, nobody talks like they did in 3.5 Men either. 2.5 Men either. Although I'm gonna say one thing with 2.5 Men. If the daughter, since the daughter of Charlie Sheen's character is a lesbian, and she replaced the kid on the show, does that make lesbians half men? Because that seems to be the implication there. And no, this isn't my way of trying to stir up controversy against Chuck Lorre because I don't want to see his name on a TV credit at all anymore. Nope. Not at all. Actually, that's probably why they got rid of her at the end of the one season she was in because the implications were pretty bad.
You want to know what's even worse?
Uh-huh.
How about I got one for you. Okay, I think there was this one Enterprise episode where it was basically an allegory for AIDS.
What?
Yeah, it was. I saw the SF debris review of it. So what goes on is that T'Pol gets this disease that you can only get through mind melding, and apparently at this point in time, mind melding was not a thing for the Vulcans, or at least it was kind of like it was verboten.
Taboo.
Yeah, like melders were seen as
Degenerates.
Yeah, what?
Degenerates.
Pretty much, yes. So, okay, so here's what happens. So yeah, so T'Pol gets this disease from melding with a guy who, to actually from another episode, who turned out to be completely mentally unstable, by the way. And then there's this whole and then there's this whole like sequence where she has to like goes before the Vulcan High Council or some shit and trying to prove that I'm not a bad person just because I melded.
Huh.
And of course, Archer being Archer has to do the whole speechifying.
Well, that was a Star Trek method. You need to do.
But I think I think Archer was the one who killed that trope just because they gave. Okay, I'm not gonna put this on Scott Bakula. I think he was trying to do the best with what they gave him.
Yeah, he's a Star Trek fan who became a Star Trek captain, and then found out that he was given the worst character of a lot.
Yeah, he was trying to do the best with what he had with what they gave him, which was terrible.
Which is why I respect the Game of Thrones actors because they knew that what they were doing was terrible, but they stuck with it and continued on.
Oh come on! If you had a meal ticket like Game of Thrones, would you walk?
No,
Exactly.
but then again, with some of these actors, their career started with these characters, and they became part of them, in a sense.
Okay, that's also true, but yeah.
One thing I noticed about actors is that they don't want what's best for them in a show. They want what's best for the character. It's one of the reasons why William Shatner's remembered as being a dick on the original series. It's because he wanted to protect his character more than others.
Yeah, but Alabaster Scarf in the chat says, I kind of liked Enterprise, at least the first season. It starts off like DBZ, only the farmer wins this time.
Yeah, that's true. They probably saw that first episode of Dragon Ball Z and went, nope, we're going to have the farmer win this time.
Yeah. What was it? But yeah, but there's a thing, like, they actually, here's a funny thing I found out from that same SF Debris review, though. They'd actually tried going for another AIDS episode back in The Next Generation. But Rick Berman axed it, and guess why?
Why?
Well, it wasn't that Rick Berman didn't want to talk about AIDS. He just didn't want to have any gay characters on screen.
Oh yeah, I believe it was David Gerald who pitched the idea.
Yeah.
Rick Berman has done a lot to damage the franchise, but I think don't think it's so much of his fault as is that they gave Star Trek show after show after show without room for breathing.
Well, that's what Ron Moore said. The problem with doing when Deep Space Nine was that Rick Berman just kept getting in their way. He was too conservative with it. He wouldn't let them take risks.
That's because he knew Roddenberry. And
Well,
Roddenberry was not the best influence on Star Trek, even though it was his show.
Yeah, okay. I can commend Berman for wanting to stay faithful to Roddenberry's vision. Problem was that vision was kind of flawed.
Yeah, because you can't do a good show without conflict, without drama.
Yeah.
You need to show characters that people can relate to.
It's funny. No, it wasn't Berman that rescued. Actually, no. I take that back. It wasn't Berman who rescued the Next Generation. It was Michael Piller.
Huh.
Yeah, like when Michael Piller came on the third season. I mean, that's when everyone says it started getting good, right?
I think what rescued the Next Generation was Roddenberry leaving.
Well, not just that. Like I said, because the problem was Berman was just too conservative with it.
Yeah, but Roddenberry had such. I still had a lot of influence on the show up until his death, and he was about ready to sue Paramount over the sixth Star Trek movie because he hated it.
But like right when Michael Piller comes on board and starts writing, that's when it really started hitting its stride.
Yeah,
like around season 3.
yeah, and there's also the season where they had to change the uniforms.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that those were very uncomfortable for him to wear. Roddenberry wanted clothes. I wanted uniforms that did not have wrinkles in them. So he ordered that the uniforms had to be a size smaller for the actors.
Yeah.
And the reason why they had to change them was because Patrick Stewart was beginning to experience back problems. So if it didn't change, they would have to find a new captain.
Alabaster Scarf says you watch the first season of TNG and it's trying way too hard to be TOS, soft focus lighting, fanciful music, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's what everybody says about the first 2 seasons.
It would have worked if they didn't have Wesley Crusher. Yeah, Wesley Crusher was the worst thing for the show.
Yeah, even worse than Archer.
He was a kid on the Federation's flagship that solved everything. If it's anything, that should have been a Star Trek parody.
He was a self-insert for Gene Roddenberry.
Duh. Wesley's his middle name, and he would often offend Wesley. And the fun thing is, I don't have any respect for Gene Roddenberry.
Really?
Yeah, I've started reading a lot from the viewpoint of Leonard Nimoy, Harlan Ellison, and others. And David Gerrold once said that the reason why Gene Roddenberry was shot into space wasn't because he wanted to go there. It was because they didn't want the Star Trek, the original series writers, to find his grave and piss on it.
Wow.
Yeah. And apparently, he blocked William Shatner from writing on the original series because Shatner was a better writer than him. Yeah, that to Shatner's ego, I guess.
It's like he had good ideas, but he needed other people to really make them good.
Like George Lucas. and that's the thing with these these big franchises that when eventually the creators will get too big of a head about it and think that every idea they have is gold.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've heard something. Like back in the day, Marvel actually used to have a writer-editor position.
I believe it.
I shit you not, Stan Lee actually had. It was either Stan Lee or Jim Shooter. I think it was. I'm gonna go with Stan. Stan, was one of the two. They saw like Chris Claremont's unedited stuff and said it was unintelligible.
Yeah, and I think having those positions there helps the writer more, as it'll give them more of an idea of how how stories work.
Well, the problem is the problem is with being a creator is when you're making something, like you put so much of yourself into it, you can't really look at it you can't step back and look at it objectively. So you need an outside opinion that is not going to be biased.
Yeah, and
Or at
interestingly,
least less biased than yours will.
yeah, interestingly enough, you remember how good Babylon 5 was in terms of story? The fact that what?
Yeah, and that's because JMS was very clear on what his vision for it was.
Yeah, and all those scripts they wrote for the series.
Yeah, he wrote the majority of them.
The vast majority of them were first drafts.
Really?
Yep. He didn't have time to go back and add some down, so that's why you have a bunch of long-winded dialogue at times. But it helps that he knows how to make dialogue interesting.
So JMS is the exception, the one guy who does not need to be edited.
Yeah, mainly because he knows he's got. But I think that came out of the experience from working on other shows, from being edited by other people, that he knows what to do.
He pretty much knows what mistakes to spot in the first draft.
Yeah, and during
or at least things to avoid.
Yeah, and during the writing period I processed for the episode Soul Hunter, he wrote the entire script, looked at it, and said, I was possessed by an idiot, and went back to write it.
Wait, was that the Soul Hunter? Was that the one with the alien who traps other people's souls and gems and shit?
Yep. Basically, he said that the original script was a Star Trek script, not a Babylon 5 script.
Kind of seems like Babylon 5 went more metaphysical than Star Trek did.
Yeah.
Although Deep Space Nine got pretty metaphysical.
Especially the ending. But the thing with Soul Hunter was that it was during the first season and still finding its legs.
Oh come on. Hey, they got pretty Deep Space Nine got pretty metaphysical in the first episode. When Cisco met the prophets.
Yeah, but I'm referring to more of the whole needing to rewrite Soul Hunter, just because he was possessed by an idiot.
Oh. When I was in college and I took it was one of my graphic design courses, the instructor for that class, he said, here's the thing, whatever your first idea is, toss it out, because your first idea is never your best idea.
I would have to disagree with that, because your first idea, when you write it out, it'll be bad, but it'll give you an idea of what you want to do. Such as the bad idea might be with a plot, but you could have interesting characters in there.
Yeah, like how I had, or like how we had one, like how I had a changeling side character that was initial. Actually, I've had two side characters in Changeling who were initially supposed to be more antagonistic, and now they kind of got upgraded to side characters.
Yeah. Yep.
Mostly just because I realized keeping them as heels just was not going to work long term.
Yeah, I know. It's it's interesting watching characters grow.
Well, let me put it this way: in the case of Sadie, like I said, I pretty much set her up to be like the the changeling version of Cordelia from Buffy. But even like then, even Cordelia got past being just the bitchy rich girl.
Yeah, they'll either get better or they'll get worse.
It's kind of it's a thing in wrestling they call nuclear heat. Okay, heat is a reaction that a heel gets from the crowd, and it's supposed to be negative. Like, I know you don't know much about wrestling, but I'm pretty sure you know the rules that you're supposed to cheer for the face and you're supposed to hate the heel.
Yep.
Nuclear heat is when the heel is doing their job too well.
I see.
Yeah. Or they're doing it so badly that people hate them for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
So in other words, if you set up a character to be sort of the foil, and like in the case of Sadie, she's supposed to be she's supposed to be bitchy. She's bitchy.
Yep.
Well, that's fine. That works okay at first. But you keep running with that, people are going to get tired of her and they're going to hate her. And every second they're just going to hate that she's there.
Yeah, it's just not gonna work.
Yeah, they're not going to hate her because she's an antagonistic foil, and that's what the rules say. They just hate her presence and they want her gone. Because they don't like her being there. It's you can only draw out that antagonism for so long before people get sick of it.
Yeah, it's even though with Deep Space Nine, a lot of the characters never really changed throughout the run. You had Gul Dukat, who has been the biggest villain of the show, but you had those moments where you could feel bad for him, such as when his daughter was killed.
Well, that's the thing about Dukat. You could tell he wasn't a good man by any stretch of the imagination, but he wasn't evil.
Well, evil, possibly because
after Waltz, they overcorrected and then made him a straight up bad guy. But it's more like he had layers, he had complexity. He was, like I said, he wasn't a good man, but he wasn't a monster.
Yeah, I think that's when they jumped the shark with Dukat, honestly.
Yeah, it was because honestly, yeah, and with SF debris on that, he should have died on Waltz because after that he had no more reason to exist.
Yeah, unlike with Babylon 5 with the two characters, Londo Mollari and G'Kar. You see the visible shift as the series goes on. You have Londo who starts off as the comedic relief of the show, losing bets left and right and all that. And then he slowly becomes a major antagonist, although he's not the hand-wringing sort of antagonist. And then
he's an unwitting pawn.
Yep. And G'Kar, you saw him start off as the hand-wringing villain, who eventually becomes more heroic, more philosophical, more of the wise man of the show.
Not only that, like there was initially Jakar and Londo were antagonistic with one another, but over time their relationship softened.
To the point where Jakar became his bodyguard.
Well,
Huh.
not only that, when they both died, they died as friends.
Yep. The funny thing about dreams is that you expect the dream to be about strangling your enemy to death, but really, Jakar was doing him a mercy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nice. Okay, I'm turning my phone off.
That's a good idea. That's the one thing I'm going to say with SF Debris. I did enjoy the Star Trek Into Darkness review. I mean, partly because of the whole comparison of leadership skills between original series Kirk and reboot Kirk. Where at first you see the leadership qualities of the original series Kirk, where he's showing the traditional signs of leadership on Starship. And then at the very end, you see the leadership qualities of reboot Kirk, where it was just him being a frat boy.
Well, I mean, like, weren't there episodes of Star Trek and even some of the movies that alluded to Kirk having a wild youth?
Well, it was more of a. I think it was mostly in the novels where I said that, but I think it's something that Whale Center had fought up for him because it makes sense.
Well, that's the fact. Well, it kind of. I mean, yeah, it kind of fits Kirk's character. Like, he has a very by the seat of his pants and sort of approach to captaining. So it would make sense that he might have been reckless in his youth.
Yeah. The big influence on that from what I read with the production of the Star Trek reboot movie was the novel Best Destiny, where it was basically it was basically about Kirk's youth and how one time that this one particular time where he got into really big trouble was when his father realized he had enough and decides to bring his son along. I bring Kirk along with him on a voyage. Turns out the ship he served on was first officer of the Enterprise, and it's really and it the author set up some really good comedic moments, such as what do you think of the first thing Kirk would say on the bridge of the Enterprise?
I don't know.
Teenage Kirk said, "It stinks in here."
Wow.
Yep. And then the author cuts to present day where Kirk is facing the son of the antagonist of the flashback portion of the story. And so, as the reason why he's having why these memories are popping up, and he remembers that moment where he says that it stinks in here, which McCoy, of course, pried him on. What did you say? With the embarrassed Kirk saying, "I said it's stinking here and there," and McCoy just laughs because he's McCoy, and well, he'll laugh at his friend's discomfort if it's funny enough.
You know, I think even with kind of that in mind, I think I have a hard time sort of picturing reboot Kirk ever captaining a ship. Like
The
he's just some punk who picks fights with random people, and then he just decides on a whim, I'm gonna go captain a starship.
you know that I although I hate how reboot Kirk was in the first two movies, he really came into his own in Beyond. He's you can tell he's older, he's more mature. He even states outright that that he doesn't know understand why he's still in Starfleet because he joined it out as a whim.
Like I said, what just happened was that Pike said, if you actually tried, you could probably captain a starship. And he says, like, yeah, I think I'll try that.
Yep.
It's like,
Which is brilliant on the part of Beyond screenwriters to make that part of his story arc. His
that he realized he got into Starfleet for the wrong reasons.
Yep. As well as he's going to be older than his father when he died. So that's going to add in some additional layers of drama, whereas his father joined Starfleet because he believed in it. He's joined Starfleet because of a whim.
Yeah. Yeah. But enough about modern Trek.
So, Star Trek Picard, stupid name.
I don't know. It's just like,
I mean, they already have Picard series with the Next Generation, but whatever they think will make the big bucks, I guess.
It's like, I don't know. It's like after Next Generation, it's like, what was left for him to do? There's not like that's about as like this finale to Next Generation. That was about as complete an ending to Picard's arc as you could get.
Yeah, although with Star Trek Nemesis, there was basically they were going to go on to do something interesting for the sequel, which would have been a crossover between Next Generation, Voyager, and Deep Space Nine. So imagine what kind of movie that would have been.
That could have been epic.
Yep, and who knows, the story could have involved not just the resurrection of Data, but also bringing back Cisco. Because he did say he was coming back.
Yeah. Just like
But I don't think it was the sales and the box office performance of Nemesis that killed it. It was the Paramount CBS split. Basically, when they split, Paramount didn't feel I had to pay a fee to basically they had to pay for rights to make the movies. Which is what they had to do for Star Trek reboots. So every time they had a new movie, right before every movie, they would have to negotiate a contract for it. Which I think that was all worked out as a way for Les Moonves to kill Star Trek. Hey, after we talked about Crystal Pepsi, it's trending on Twitter.
Yeah, you just noticed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Although they're still talking about Echo Cooler.
Wasn't that basically like?
Orange High C, except with
Oh,
green dye.
yeah, it was just. Yeah, it was just juice.
Yeah. There was really nothing different.
Dude, I'm gonna dude.
Uh,
Uh, um
oh.
no, this is very good. This is very good. Let's just say a Gauss bomb just got dropped. Huh.
What?
Here's something interesting. I just saw someone RT. He's something from San Diego Comic Con, and Jim Steranko's gonna be there this year.
Really? Huh.
Surprised he does. I'm surprised he does appearances.
Well, they all have to do them every once in a while.
Yeah.
Well, it's all I really gotta say is that with a lot of writers, we just there's a lot of there's a lot of ego. Let's face it. What killed Game of Thrones season 8 wasn't the idea of it wasn't HBO. It was the showrunners not wanting to hand the torch to someone else
Mm-hmm.
and to go off and do Star Wars trilogy.
Hmm. Uh-huh. Yeah. Mm. We get some. This is the show where things happen on air and we can't talk about them.
Pretty much.
Uh-oh.
Oh boy. And Midnight Cherry is really pressing that I am pushing the limit right now. He's making jokes about Cyberfrog.
Oh boy. Mm.
Oh, ouch.
This is going. Oh boy, what the?
Uh, someone, they're all people are now pointing out screenshots of their disappointment on a certain comic, Indiegogo comic.
Oh boy. Oh, no.
And Casanova made a comment. I'm sure my grandkids will love it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I get it.
Although with his screenshot, it's three comics in a row that still have not reached their backers. It's
Dan just put something on.
Yeah, we've got 45 people following.
That says 45 people following, 13 can. Okay, so we have 32 people who are set to be. 32 people who have set to be reminded that haven't pledged. If they all do, we have a very good chance. Okay, let's see. Which one at minimum would they have to pledge at? 32 people. I'm gonna put it at 30 at the low end. Let's see what we get out of that. Okay, if all 32 people pledged at the $30 tier, that'd be about $960, which would get us close, but just a little bit shy.
Actually, you're forgetting the $3 addition to that because of the shipping and handling. So that'd be 1,056.
Yeah, you're right about that.
I have a feeling that a lot of those backers, those 31 now because Tank's one of them.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I think they'll go. They're looking for the highest bidder, the highest number. So basically, it's possible that we'll be seeing a lot of $50 to $90 pledges. I mean, back when we started off with the hoodies, it didn't look like they were going to bite. But now we got 3 hoodies sold.
That is true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're at this point. We're definitely still in it.
You know, we got a little under 25% left to break through, and a lot of and this is in the final and first weeks are where Kickstarter or where crowdfunders tend to make most of their money.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to end up seeing the same thing that we had on the first day, on last day.
Right now, this
You know, the thing is, there are some, unlike a lot of Kickstarters at this point, we're actually within shooting distance of making goal.
Mm-hmm.
I showed you that project that's still under $4,000, and it's got the same amount of days as we do.
Same amount of the goal, I think, too. which is talk about a coincidence, but it's just like, wow.
Yep. Let's see here.
Like I told Vamp, we are so close we can fucking taste it.
Yep. The funny thing is that if we were to keep it at $3 as a highest goal, we probably won't we probably wouldn't be this far ahead.
Much as I'm not a big fan of it, I have to admit there are people who are willing to who will pay a lot of money for if they think what they're getting is worth it. And
Yep.
I think what we did was give people the most amount of value for their dollar.
Yeah, and when September hits, we'll have it. They'll have it in their hands. We won't have Midnight Cherry on our back about it. Uh-oh.
What do you mean, uh-oh?
I hear a lot of typing.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do.
You only think you do.
No, I hear typing.
It's all in your head. It's all in your head, Matt.
Did you almost call me Victor?
No. I did not call you Victor. You're talking crazy.
Only one crazy is you.
Can I still be salty that I can't merchandise an anime?
I guess.
That thing would have sold amazing. T-shirts alone would have moved units. And it's so adorable. Ugh, why aren't memes public domain? Memes should be public domain. I mean, like, nobody owns memes.
Well,
do they?
Well, in the case of Neon Cat, I'm going to say she does have the right to trademark it simply because she put in the work for it. She made it.
And unfortunately, changing the Pop-Tart and sticking your character on top of the cat is not transformative enough, quote unquote.
No idea.
Huh. I do think that joke I made at Brian the day
What?
I do think the joke I made at Brian when I first launched it. You had that guy from Crimson Podcast who said it's cute, and then Brian responded on it with that Warhammer gift juice that makes you look at heretics. And then I just quote tweeted and said, "Guess he dropped the ball on this one."
Yep.
I think about the only way Brian could taught me for this is if he introduced a Regina mod for Robot Unicorn Attack.
I think if there's any mod that he wants Regina to be in, it's one for Left 4 Dead.
He already made that anyway, I think.
Really?
Well, yes and no, he did. That was where the seeds for Rags started.
I see.
It was, but yeah, it was. But yeah, like I said, the seed. It was kind of the seeds for where it started. But it wasn't. But it wasn't like where Regina, the character started.
Yeah.
Like, I think he still has that mod.
I won't be surprised. Huh.
Thanks. So.
What? You there? Hello? You there, Brett? Oh, great. His hard drive froze again. Crashed again. Well, if we've got another, I think, 10, 15 minutes before we got Brett's twin.
No, we don't.
So, what were you going to say?
Tank said he was gonna. Didn't Tank say he was gonna pop in?
Yeah.
That stupid time zone shit.
Yep. So he's probably eating dinner right now.
Most likely.
Well, it's gonna be interesting to see whether or not we get to go commentate time, but seeing how it goes with your hard drive, that might not be something that's gonna happen. And I have a feeling that you've got your hard drive crashed again. Oh, here we go. Oh boy. Well, goodbye, everyone. I guess.
Matt?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, yeah.
Are
So,
you here?
yes, I'm here. Okay, so what I was gonna say is we still got tonight's show, and Raven said she's gonna be able to be here, which will be good because I want to hear how. I want to kind of find out how things went for her marketing us at the con when she went to.
Well, that's good. Huh. Maybe we should end here so that your car drive can recover. I mean, what
Yeah.
was that? 3 times now?
Twice. But yeah. Yeah, we'll just hope.
It's yeah. I
We
want.
got we've gone for a pretty good time. We'll be right back. We're gonna call it good here, and we'll be back around 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, guys. If you're, make sure you adjust us for time zones accordingly.
See you guys.